Hello, you're tuning into VTV News live from Hanoi. I'm Hoai Leung, and let's first check out the headlines for this hour. Prime Minister Nguyen Thanh Dung attends the third Thailand-Vietnam joint cabinet meeting in Thailand. EC issues discussed in Washington, D.C. in the 5th annual meeting by CSIS. And the annual summer camp connects Vietnamese overseas youths. Top news for this hour. Prime Minister Nguyen Thanh Dung left Hanoi for Thailand yesterday morning on an official visit at the invitation of his Thai counterpart, Prayut Chan-o-cha. Thai Prime Minister greeted the Vietnamese delegation upon their arrival in Bangkok. Following the welcome, the two Prime Ministers co-chaired the third Vietnam-Thailand joint cabinet meeting.
At the meeting, the two leaders noted the determination of both sides to officially carry out the Thailand-Vietnam Action Plan on trade and investment cooperation from 2015 to 2020, bringing two-way trade turnover to $20 billion by 2020. The two leaders also agreed to boost the Thailand-Vietnam strategic partnership in all sectors, particularly politics, security, national defense, economics, trade, investment, and labor.
Vietnam is the only country in ASEAN which has the strategic partnership with Thailand and has organized joint cabinet meetings with Thailand. At this meeting, Vietnamese Prime Minister Nguyen Thanh Dung and I agreed to organize a series of activities to celebrate the 40th anniversary of bilateral cooperation between Vietnam and Thailand in 2016. In terms of investment, we'll also focus on big projects and small and medium enterprises. We also discussed about the export of Thailand fruits and vegetables to Vietnam. Thailand also invites Vietnam to join the International Rubber Tripartite Council to ensure the Vietnam's rubber in the international market. The two nations are committed to continue collaboration in national security issues and curbing the activity of anti-government forces in our respective countries. Vietnam also said it would create more favorable conditions for Thai investors in the coming time.
Prime Minister Nguyen Thanh Dung and his counterpart Prayut Chan-o-cha reiterated their opinions, which were stated on the chairman's statement of the 26th ASEAN Summit held in Malaysia last April. The leaders also committed to closely work with other ASEAN countries. This is aimed at boosting the establishment of ASEAN community at the end of this year. Moreover, it also helps to maintain the leadership and core role of ASEAN in strategic issues in the region.
Vietnam and Thailand's leaders share the concerns on issues in AEC and emphasize the need for related parties to comply with a declaration on conduct of parties in AEC, building mutual trust, refraining from the threat to use force, conflict settlement by peaceful means, in line with international law, including the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, towards early finalization of a code of conduct on parties in the AEC.
Prime Minister Dung and his Thai counterpart witnessed the signing ceremony of several agreements, including third joint statement on Vietnam-Thailand joint cabinet meeting and a memorandum of understanding on labor cooperation.
After the joint Vietnam-Thailand cabinet meeting yesterday, Vietnam's Prime Minister Nguyen Thanh Dung participated in the Thailand-Vietnam business dialogue. At the event, he said that Vietnam highly values Thailand's investment projects in Vietnam, and Vietnam's government will create favorable conditions for Thai investors over the long term in Vietnam.
Prime Minister Nguyen Thanh Dung stressed that Vietnam wanted to integrate into the global economy. Vietnam has established relations with almost every country in the world and has 13 strategic partnerships, including Thailand. In addition, Vietnam joined the ASEAN community and is nearing the signing of an EU free trade agreement and is holding further discussions on the Trans-Pacific Partnership or TPP agreement. This will be an important transition for Vietnam's business market to meet international standards.
Business environment in Vietnam still faces some difficulties, but we are determined to implement many solutions, especially administrative reforms in tax, customs procedures, social insurance, construction permits, real estate ownership and power access. Vietnam is striving to improve the business environment in order to meet the ASEAN 6 standards in 2015 and ASEAN 4 standards in 2016. Many important laws have been amended in 2015, such as the investments law, business law, housing law, and the PPP decree on public-private partnership investments. They are strong evidence of Vietnam to improve the business environment to meet international standards and free trade agreements.
Nghị định về đầu tư đối tác công tư PPP.
Thailand is the 10th largest investor out of 103 countries and territories that invest in Vietnam, with 392 direct investment projects and registered capital of $7 billion. Thailand is also the 5th largest business partner to Vietnam, with trade turnover of $12 billion in this year. The joint cabinet meeting on Thursday should create more opportunities for businesses from both countries, enhance ties and develop the strategic partnership.
The two countries agreed to create better conditions to see $20 billion in two-way trade turnover by 2020. We agreed that the business communities have an important role to develop links between the two countries. Vietnam has highly valued Thai investment projects in Vietnam. We always tried our best to create conditions for your businesses to invest in Vietnam.
On the same day, the Prime Minister had a meeting with the President of the Thai Karen Group, currently implementing many investment projects in Vietnam. He also met the presidents of the Karen Port Phan and Amateur groups. Amateur has been in Vietnam since 1994 and constructed many industrial zones in Bien Hoa and Dong Nai southern provinces. The industrial zones have attracted 1,000 investors from 30 countries and created 40,000 jobs.
In other news, the fluctuations of the Russian ruble have badly affected trade between Vietnam and Russia, with Vietnamese businesses facing particular difficulties in payment processes. In order to maintain business ties between the two countries, firms are asking for solutions. Let's find out more in the following report.
The ruble has lost more than half of its value against the dollar last year. This situation has already seen Vietnam's tourism agencies lose half of its Russian tourists. However, in the first half of this year, the ruble has significantly increased in value from 70 to 55 rubles per US dollar.
We made plans for the Russian market over a year ago, and it was prepared based on the situation at that time. The fluctuation in the value wasn't planned for, and it changed our long-term strategy. It also badly affected the prices of land to us that we agreed with foreign partners.
For orders of outsourcing garments with Russian partners over the coming 3 to 6 months, Vietnamese businesses also faced many difficulties in fixing prices. Rosviet is a Russian business with a factory outsourcing garments in Hai Dương province. The company has had to find many solutions to deal with the decrease of orders from Russia.
Currently, businesses of the two countries are very worried, so we have to cut manufacturing. We need to ensure delivery times are met and inventories stay low to decrease the company's losses.
And things might not get any easier for the foreseeable future, as experts warn that the ruble's value is subject to influences from manufacturers. In order to maintain trade with Russia, solutions are required from Vietnamese businesses and the participation of the banking systems of the two countries.
Using the US dollar in trading is a reasonable solution at this time. The banking systems of both countries should establish a mutual exchange currency as another way to solve the problem.
The State Bank of Vietnam and the Central Bank of Russia are working to establish a mutual payment system for the two countries. This will be further discussed in the meeting of Russia-Vietnam Banking Working Group, which will take place in September this year.
A high-quality Vietnamese goods fair is scheduled to be held in Moscow, Russia at the end of this year. In order to prepare, the Hanoi Trade, Investment and Tourism Promotion Center held a press conference yesterday in Hanoi. The fair will see over 100 businesses sought to participate. The press conference also listed discounts on flights for the fair, free booths and subsidized accommodation and travel within Russia. The participants also have a chance to discuss opportunities and challenges in Russia for Vietnamese exporters. Ahead of the high-quality Vietnamese goods fair set to take place in Moscow, a conference was recently held in Da Nang Central City. Issues highlighted at the conference include the trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union, which is expected to open up opportunities for Vietnamese exporters.
When the free trade agreement takes effect, 90% of items will enjoy reduced tariffs, some of which might enjoy tariff exemptions. This poses good opportunities for Vietnamese enterprises, but there are certain obstacles.
Vietnamese enterprises don't know much about Russian markets, Russian consumer habits and demand. We also don't understand distribution channels that clearly. In the past, it was hard to make payments. There used to be many risks that worried businesses.
Banks in Vietnam and Russia are working together to improve payment processes. Vietnamese authorities are also supporting enterprises in finding outlets and partners in Russia. However, they are not the only key factors to penetrate the market.
Products from all around the world are exported to Russia. Consumers have many options, so businesses must pay great attention to quality, price and other factors. It requires great efforts from enterprises to get the most out of the FTA.
To promote trade in Russia, a high-quality Vietnamese goods fair in 2015 in Moscow will take place in November and December. Businesses will enjoy free booths, a 50% discount on flights to Russia and promotional programs. This is a chance for them to introduce their products, partners and distribution channels in Russia.
More on economic news. The first 6 months of the year has witnessed a wave of bank mergers. The mergers of PG Bank and Vietin Bank, Mekong Bank and Maritime Bank, and the Southern Bank and Sacom Bank are some notable examples. The restructuring of the banking system aims at improving the overall transparency and competitiveness of the sector, but concerns still remain.
SHB recently merged with Habu Bank. As a result, its 95 branches have now been expanded to more than 400. BIDV also plans to increase its branches from 600 to 1,000 following its merger with MHB.
M&As within the banking sector are taking place voluntarily. So far, they have gone very smoothly.
However, economists are not so convinced. They're raising questions as to whether M&A can resolve issues concerning the increase of transfer of bad debt from one bank to another.
If a larger bank merges with a smaller one and becomes responsible for all of its previous bad debt, sooner or later, the larger bank will be affected. If this gets out of hand, who will support the bank? It risks lowering the effectiveness of its operations.
At the moment, most banks have invested in core banking, developing specific operation procedures, customer target group, and development outlook. That begs the question, which core banking strategy will two banks adapt post-M&A? And the strategy that is left behind, would that be a waste of investment for that particular bank? Experts also pointed out possible lapses in merging staff from two banks.
A major point of concern is the work ethic of staff members, particularly those working in the credit sector.
What we need to avoid is a situation where staff jump from one bank to another in a short pace of time, raising the risk in terms of management and work ethics.
The ultimate goal of restructuring banks is to establish large institutions that are competitive and long-standing. Nevertheless, economists say the quality of banking needs to be a more important factor when it comes to the recent wave of M&As. The State Bank of Vietnam is also looking to cut the number of commercial banks within the system to 20 by 2017, half the current amount.
And now, before moving to the next part of our program, let's take a look at the foreign exchange rates updated for today, July the 24th. In the later part of the program, East Sea issues discussed in Washington, D.C. with the participation of experts from Vietnam, China, the Philippines, Australia, and the United States. And the annual summer camp connects Vietnamese overseas youth. That and more coming up next. Welcome back on VTV News, live from Hanoi. A two-day workshop on the latest developments and measures to resolve conflicts in the East Sea has just wrapped up. The workshop was organized by the Research Center for International Policies at Japan's Meiji University. Nearly 200 delegates attended the event on Wednesday, including high-level officials and professors from Japan, the United States, Vietnam, and Chinese Taiwan. Participants analyzed the latest developments and policies of countries and territories directly and indirectly related to the conflict in the East Sea and proposed measures to ease tensions in this important maritime route. Now, the latest developments and policy options for the East Sea were also the topic of discussion at a conference held in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday. Organized by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS, the fifth annual meeting drew experts from Vietnam, China, the Philippines, Australia, and the United States, among others.
23 speakers and 300 representatives discussed the recent development in the East Sea, legal issues and strategic balance, and engaged in crisis stimulation. Participants noted that most Southeast Asian countries are concerned about China's illegal construction of artificial islands in the East Sea.
I think the neighborhood is sending messages to China to please consider the sovereignty of your neighbors. Please think about your own national security and economic welfare in the context of being a good neighbor as well as protecting your own interests.
Speaking at the conference, United States Assistant Secretary of the State for East Asia, Daniel Russell, stressed that China's illegal construction only caused more tension and concern in the region rather than benefiting China.
No amount of sand, no matter how high it's piled, will garner any sovereignty. These outposts don't benefit China's claims under international law.
Very engaged in
Experts agreed that the greatest success of the conference was that parties has addressed these issues rather than avoiding them. This will be an important basis for finding a common solution to the current situation in the East Sea.
And then there's a third category.
A conference on Asian orange dachshund was held in Guangxi Central Province on Thursday morning, reviewing progress on mitigating the effects of Asian orange dachshund over the past period. From 1961 to 1971, U.S. forces sprayed millions of liters of herbicides over the vast areas of the south-central Vietnam, most of which was Asian orange dachshund. The chemical has caused serious health issues among veterans and their descendants. In the central central province of Guangxi, over 8,000 households with 15,000 victims were exposed to Agent Orange. The conference discussed solutions to provide support for people affected by dioxin. It also highlighted the essential role of international organizations and communities in development assistance programs. Vietnam currently has the highest child mortality rates from drowning in ASEAN, with an average of 10 children dying every day. As one of the localities with the highest rate of fatalities, An Giang province is stepping up swimming lessons for children. Let's take a look.
For the past few years, An Giang has carried out swimming lessons for children aged from 6 to 11 years old. Every year, the program teaches about 13,000 children how to swim and avoid drowning. This number is going to go up by 5% this year. In Phu Tân district, swimming lessons are being organized earlier than usual thanks to a newly built swimming pool.
We are happy to take the children to the swimming lessons because here they can learn how to protect themselves from drowning.
Attending these classes, children are taught how to swim and avoid drowning in just 10 days. For some special cases, children also receive extra classes to enhance their skills. All the tools and training for instructors are supplied by local authorities in An Giang.
Thanks to the program, there have been no drowning incidents involving primary school students recorded in Phu Tân district for the last 3 years. According to the authorities' statistics, in recent years we have recorded an average of 3 child fatalities from drowning each year in the province. In 2015, we are making efforts so that no child will die from drowning.
The swimming campaign has received great support and wide participation among locals in An Giang. Due to the lack of swimming pools, the program has yet to reach many children in far-flung areas. So more still needs to be done here as well as in other provinces in the Mekong Delta region.
An art performance titled Dong Lộc Immortal Sacred Land was held last night at the Dong Lộc Historical Relic Site in Hà Tĩnh Province. The event was attended by state and party leaders. The Dong Lộc intersection was a strategic site on the north-south supply route during the American War, handling supply trucks carrying soldiers, food, arms, and munitions. It was hit by an estimated 48,600 bombs over 240 days in 1968. The performance last night aimed to commemorate the 10th young female volunteers who were killed by a bomb while they were trying to fill the craters so the Dong Lộc intersection could remain opened. This is one of the many activities being held nationwide to mark the 68th War Invalids and Martyrs Day on July the 27th. The blood drive known as the Red Journey ended yesterday in Hanoi after traveling through 23 provinces nationwide. The campaign has collected over 23,000 units of blood, partly thanks to the participation of 120 volunteers who were carefully selected and trained. The drive attracted volunteers from the mainland and on Lee Sơn Island, where a blood bank has been established with 30 members who are always ready to donate blood to save other people in case of emergency. A meeting will be held tomorrow at the National Convention Center here in Hanoi to officially conclude the Red Journey this year. Over the last 12 years, the Vietnam Summer Camp for Overseas Youths, organized by the State Committees of Overseas Vietnamese Affairs under the Ministries of Foreign Affairs, has contributed to connecting Vietnamese overseas youth around the world. This year, camp will cross 12 cities and provinces from north to south over 18 days. Participants of this year's camp enjoyed a cultural exchange with local youngsters in Da Nang on Thursday.
162 Vietnamese overseas youths from 21 countries and territories joined in a bamboo pole dance with their friends in Da Nang. The dance connected the young people in an exciting atmosphere.
Although they come from different places, they are all Vietnamese and share the same love for their homeland.
This is the first time I've tried a bamboo pole dance. I am very happy. I've learned more about Vietnam on this trip. I visited Vietnam twice. This is where my parents were born, so I am glad to be here.
This is the first time I have been on the Vietnam summer camp. I think this camp is a good chance for overseas students to learn more about Vietnamese culture and history, and exchange with Vietnamese students to understand more about traditions and customs.
The program has traveled from north to south, focusing on a series of activities such as paying tribute to the ancestors and commemorating fallen martyrs. Thanks to these activities, these youngsters have seen the country's development and the deep attachment local people have for overseas Vietnamese. They will become special ambassadors and promote Vietnam's image around the world.
And finally, as always, is the updated weather forecast. And that is the end of our news bulletin for this hour. Do log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go for more of our program. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back at 6 p.m. Hanoi time on VTV International.